What's good, everybody? This is Star Rock, and you are tuned into the City Limits podcast.
Yay!
Formerly known as A-Word Podcast.
She did it!
I got my co-host, Jay Hall, Yana Delius, and we have our special guest,
Bae Sadé.
Yes.
Bae Sadé. Bae Sadé.
Thank you for having me.
What up, though, Detroit?
Hey, all day.
All day.
Every day.
All day. I like doing that when she here because, you know, New York want to take over everything.
Day.
That's right.
It's so
in your
cold
town.
in the
In
D.
your
New
town.
York minds its business.
In your town. We here.
Look, LA really mind their business. I'm just over here, like, all the way on the West Coast. Like, hey, I'm here.
It's okay. We don't get many moments, so when we get it, we let you know. That's all
right.
I'm saying.
I mean, Motown, that's a big moment right there.
I mean,
We had more than Motown.
Yes, we did. And that's our point. That's our point right there.
Motown, excuse me.
Exactly.
Detroit's Black Renaissance predates Harlem.
Talk about it.
Ooh.
Talk about it.
No, that's true. That's historical.
Yeah.
Detroit was known as the Paris of the United States
That's
at
right.
one point.
Yeah.
That's right.
It's a Renaissance city, baby.
That's right.
Definitely didn't know that. Just know that my ex is from there and don't like that person. So.
Wow.
Wow.
But it was good while it was good.
It was
right?
good while it was good.
I know.
She got you. She got you.
I know.
I mean, most people I know from Detroit are cool. You all right, Jay.
It's so cold in the D. I mean,
It is.
how the F are we supposed to keep peace? Like,
You ain't notice I kept ignoring you?
yeah, I know.
You ain't notice I kept ignoring
That's why I
you?
kept on saying
He was
it.
on the third try. I'm
Just
like,
how look,
T-Baby's a classic.
and
We
I'm
could
gonna
down the whole
I'm gonna go through the
Black
first verse
internet
if you
rabbit
keep
hole.
on ignoring me.
hey, babe, nice shirt. You know what I'm saying?
for the culture.
Wonderful
That's
shirt.
what we're here for. That's what we're here for.
So it's amazing that you came. Thank you for coming
you
and
for
talking
having
to us.
me.
Yeah. So there's a lot that, you know, we want to cover. First of all, congratulations on everything that you've been doing.
Thank you.
Yeah. And then we just talked about you hosting and, you know, getting into the
Boombox.
journalism. So tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, what you represent, you know, activist, makeup artist, digital content creator, like bad bitch, like all of that.
That's
Okay.
So, you know, I'm just a multifaceted individual. I do some of everything. I come from a long line of folks who had their stuff together. My mother is college educated, my father, grandfather, and great-grandparents. I'm actually Ethiopian and Native American.
Wait.
I was-
I'm half Ethiopian.
Look at him. He feel it.
Whoa.
He feel it.
I'm really
We
Eritrean,
made
but
the connection.
but we were raised
Y'all
in
the same
Ethiopia.
people. I know that.
We are the same people. Like my family was raised in Ethiopia.
See,
What?
so mine is flipped. So I was raised in Michigan with my mom's side of the family, close to our Native American reservation, which is up in Mount Pleasant, Michigan. My tribe is the Redfoot Chippewas. So
She actually knows her tribe.
I do.
All right.
I'm
There you go.
recognized by my tribe. If I
Yeah.
moved back to Michigan, I would get those stipends and that free health
Wow.
insurance and go to
Okay,
school
okay.
for free.
Come
but,
on.
You know, I've graduated from the 313.
Yeah.
Even though that's where I'm from. I love it.
Word.
But yeah, what you see is what you get for the most part. I got a lot of my recognition and a lot of my visibility from being a service provider, quote unquote, the help in a very unwavering way for 14 years. I call myself an ex-fairy godmother because I provided a different level of service for the everyday woman and for the celebrity woman or man in a way that they could not forge for themselves. In my mind, if you have to pay someone to use their hands to get to a level of esteem, that's a gatekeeper.
Mm-hmm.
That's someone who has a different level of power. So I got my start as a fairy godmother, a gatekeeper in beauty. But after about 10 years, 15 years, I really got tired after, you know, being a makeup artist on The Real Housewives of Atlanta, being a makeup artist for the hit Love and Hip Hop, being a makeup artist for the Keisha Cole The Way It Is show, being a makeup artist for Grand Hustle and for the Tiny and T.I. Family Hustle Value. After being in Atlanta for that amount of time and watching the decline in black supremacy to black exploitation, I no longer gave a damn about these girls' baby hairs or their lashes because that's my gift. Okay, and I'm not doing it so you can feel fab and go and make somebody else feel bad about not having the access to a $1,200 lace front.
That's
that doesn't
real.
make me feel good because I know what you look like. I covered that black eye for you. So how dare you, person A, get on camera with my gifts and make person B feel bad about it when you didn't even do that for yourself.
That
Don't
part.
use my gifts for that reason.
Ooh.
And moreover, all that baby hair ain't worth a damn when they shoot you.
Okay. Hello.
Okay, it's not made. Baby hair isn't made of Teflon. Neither is makeup. Neither of all of those things. So for me, I got to a certain point where I just felt that my impact and the gift that I had to be in a way that could be invested into my people. Mm-hmm. And it's something that mattered. So yeah, that led me to where I am now. I used all of my connections and cashed in all of my contacts and favors to get in certain rooms and create conversations. And it's been great going from the help to the star. Hello, it's Bae Sadé.
Hello.
Yes,
you
yes,
have made the building. That's what I'm talking about.
Speaking of being a star, we do have the Banjee Boombox coming up soon.
Yes.
And that's a big deal just on the strength of it's a hip hop 50 celebration, but it's focused on the LGBTQ plus community.
And our contributions into hip hop, because we know so many times, just as people of color specifically, what it means to be erased from history and what it means for things to be convoluted as far as what really happened and transpired. So it's great for us to even have the ability to foster the community and facilitate these types of events off of our own minds and with our own hands, for us and by us. So yes, August 5th, Banjee Boombox presented by the Mothership. I'm hosting along with my co-host Mark Angel, DJ Liquid and DJ Mary Mack. Great Black queer representatives who are amazing DJs. They commissioned me for this project, and I'm ready. Super excited.
So talk about, like, I'm assuming you are into hip hop, right?
I am.
How do you reconcile? Because like I think about this too, like just as a Black woman, like hip hop hasn't always been inclusive.
Okay.
So talk about that. How do you reconcile like your passion for it versus sometimes you might hear something that's like, yeah, no, that's not cool, but you still love it because you see the potential and it still speaks to you in some way.
So for me as an individual, and I'm going to make this as an I statement, I oftentimes do my best to speak from I positions and not from a broad perspective, because my experience is not everyone's experience. Mm-hmm. I come from a place of privilege. I had the privilege of making these vixens look good. I had the pleasure of providing a service to these rappers' wives. So, honey, I was valued. I've always loved hip-hop, and I was always respected within hip-hop construct. Funny story, Gucci Mane was the very first video shoot I ever did in production, did not pay me on time, and he tore up the video shoot.
Ooh.
I was 19 years old.
I believe that.
Wow.
Yeah.
I was 19. It was for the Gucci, you don't love me. Gucci, you don't love me.
I think I love her.
Right. With Mac Breezy. Mac Breezy was the girl's the girl who's featured on it.
Yeah.
At any rate, hip hop has always been a part of everything that I did. You know, being raised in Motown, music and rhythm by Black folk is really what runs through my veins. But hip hop, as someone who was born and raised in the 90s, that's a part of who I am, okay? So for me, I always have to speak about the privilege of being a part of that nuanced group that has been accepted in hip-hop. But I also have to speak about how on the outside looking in, how we've been separated from it, how we have been marginalized. And when I say we, I'm talking about the lesbians, the Blacks, the gays, the intersex, so on and so forth. And really, to be honest, I'm gonna wake it up a little bit. Not so much the lesbians, really the bisexuals and the gays. You know, pop culture and cishet folks love lesbians.
Yeah,
it's
right. Like,
yeah.
It's
fetishized.
It's definitely fetishized. But I think what's so interesting about our contribution as queer folk in pop culture and in hip hop is that it does not go anywhere without our influence.
That creativity.
Whatsoever. There are certain things that I don't think that we've spoken about enough as a culture, about things that are exclusive to us. We like to speak all day long about what's exclusive to the female or what's exclusive to the Black straight man, but we never talk about what's exclusive to the queer folk and that creativity, that color, that passion, that oomph. 9 times out of 10, either comes from a queer person or comes from a Black woman who has queer nuances, to be quite honest with you.
I'll
They
say
intersect.
we occupy the same space as the beauty salon,
They intersect.
the fashion designer, or
They intersect, because when we're talking about black males in hip hop, and I said black males specifically because it's a male dominated industry, you don't really see the actual puppeteers being put on the forefront the same way that we don't see the mamas and the aunties being celebrated the way that they should, about why all of us are in the positions that we're in today. Because if I turn to you and ask you who was most impactful in your life, you're going to say mama. If I ask you who was the person who went up to the school looking a fool to find out who was messing with their baby, it was your mama. If I ask you who was the one who looked crazy while you had a haircut, while you had barrettes in your hair, while you had on a pair of Jordans, it was your mother. So I think that while we can celebrate hip hop when we're having these types of conversations, I think that what has been missing as far as LGBTQIA folk and why this festival is so important is because it truly shines the light on the impact that we've had behind the curtain of the Wizard of Oz.
Nah, I can't let you get away with saying Jordan over here because I hated him growing up, and you know why. But however, being here and who you are, right? Now we was talking off mic about how where we're from in Detroit, it's a cultural island in that sense, right?
Yes.
You showing up who you are today, but what was your first memory that you can recall of awareness that, hey, I might be a little bit different? Because that city is a black and white town. A lot of Midwest cities are, but Detroit definitely is black and white. You either this or you that.
That's
You either
right.
with us or you with them.
That's right.
You either black or you white. It ain't none of that. You either boy or you girl.
That's right.
So what was that like for you, having this awareness and dealing with that?
On top, not to cut you off, but like on top of that, adding in your background, your cultural background too, Detroit and your cultural
I'm getting
background.
ready to add another layer to it. So what's interesting is I came out of the womb with that kind of experience because my mother's side of the family is Jehovah's Witnesses.
Oh, and that's your Ethiopian side?
That's the
That's
Native
the Native
American
American?
side. So what's interesting about it is technically I came out to my family at 4 as trans. I was born in 1990. I'm 32. I'll be 33 in October. So that was 1994. But what's interesting about it is that because I come from a long line of scholars, I was speaking full sentences by 3, and my earliest memory is 3 when I caught that plane to go and see my family in Alabama the first time. Like, I remember all the way back to 3. Wow. So with that being said, everything that took place from birth to 3 or 4, watching my grandmother, my aunts, my cousins do field service, have the door slammed in their face, be a part of a demographic that was not that you were excluded from black culture, not because of your sexual orientation, not because of your identity, not because of your expression, but because of who you pray to or because of your religion. So this is what's interesting about nuanced conversations about oppression. I try to tell people all day, every day, baby, the victim is the only thing that changes about oppression, not the mechanisms. There's only so many ways that you can oppress a people. And it was super impactful to answer your question. Growing up, watching my grandmother get the door slammed in her face, watching my family be people who were outed and axed and excommunicated from their communities based off of their own belief system. So I grew up tough. I grew up with parents who didn't give a damn. I grew up with folks who had their head held high, went and got their money. And what's interesting is that even though I never really subscribed to it, it was something very powerful about not being of the world, even though I didn't subscribe to that, being able to hold on to whatever your belief system is unwaveringly and not be moved by the public is the catalyst to when that's the first memory. That's really the best way that I can put it. That's where that came from. So at 4 at my mother's wedding, when they tried to put me in that tuxedo and I tore up that wedding, like, girl, no, this is not happening. You know, I had the ability, because of education, because of the cloth in which that I had come from, and because of the way that my mother raised me to be vocal, I had the ability to speak up for myself. They just never expected it for that target to aim to them, because my mother, love her to death, love my family to death. They made a lot of mistakes, but the one thing that they effed up with me was not adding that fine print except for me. Because once I was able to start talking, I was telling my mother, oh no, you know you don't have control over my expression, right? Your responsibilities after I've gotten to this point is to be my consultant. This is my life, and I tell you what I want, and you consult with me and do what you can to help me get where I'm going. Wow. You are not my manager. You are my consultant, and my expression is not to be policed by you. The same way this can't be policed by me, and I don't like it. The same way you do that, and Granddaddy don't like it. So that fierceness comes from them folk being on the outs and me watching them hold their heads held high. So when it came down to me having to go out into the world on my own and be a representative for self, I didn't have an issue with that because of that reason. And I was the only child. Okay. Ooh. So like I was raised on 7 Mile and Evergreen. Not only was I going to have to fight, not only did I have people who stood on their own ground, I was Black and queer at the exact same time. So that is the earliest memory, and that is probably the strongest catalyst. Even though I don't subscribe to Jehovah's Witness, even though that's a whole different conversation.
Were they accepting of that though? Because
absolutely not.
Okay, because
I'm sure there wasn't even really.
My family did not accept. My family didn't accept queerness until they realized I was a girl.
Okay.
When I initially came out as trans at 4, my grandmother was the one who I told, and she was like, "Baby, please. Just wear this suit for me one time, and I promise you, you will never have to do it again." And I was like, all right, girl, I'll hold you to that.
I'll hold you to that.
But what's interesting, just to do a brief timeline, from 4 to 11, it was kind of hell because I was trying to figure out the language for who I was. I was trying to figure out how to speak to myself and where to gain my power as someone who did not have cousins to look out for me because I was the only one. So my grandparents had 4 girls, and those 4 girls had all boys.
Wow. Okay. Wow.
Okay. So, and my mother was the one of the sisters who kind of half-assed the Jehovah's Witness stuff.
Okay.
So her sisters and her mother were devout. So I was on the outs with my cousins. I didn't have that type of lifestyle where I can call my cousin or I can call my uncles or I can call my mama because these were conservative people. So between 4 and 11, I had to figure out how to speak to that myself. I had to figure out how to stand on that myself. So that was an issue, but I was a baby. When I came to them again at 11, my mama sent my ass to boarding school 4 hours away, and I was in boarding school from 11 until 14.
Oh, wow.
When I came home at 14 from boarding school, my hair was long, eyebrows were arched. It backfired on them because the head mistress of the academy was like the Trunchbull from Matilda, this big brolic white lesbian lady.
Brolic.
And she
I haven't heard that word in a minute.
She empowered.
That's the New York influence.
she empowered me. So when I came home, my family rushed to accept the idea of gayness. Because it was, oh no, you are you cannot be no girl.
Right.
By this point, my mother had gotten pregnant with my little sister, so now it had went from I don't want my child to be this to you not gonna be doing this around my baby type of situation. Okay.
A lot of people say that though. Like I see that a lot in comments.
You're not gonna do this around my child. You're not gonna influence my child. So they put my ass out on the street.
Sheesh.
Ooh.
I came home July 2005, and I was out on that streets November 2005. My best friend's mother, shout out to Mildred Gaddis, an amazing
legend back home.
Legend. Icon, really.
Radio icon legend. Yeah.
Icon, really.
Yeah.
Gave me one of her rental properties and was like, Day, go and stay there. And it worked out. But regardless, it was not until they realized that I was a woman, that they rushed to try to accept gayness, but that's not how I identify. So it still backfired on them. Yeah.
From your scholar mind, what is it about a group of people who had went through an experience of being outed, and then turn around and do the same thing within their own tribe?
Ask me a different way.
Like, what is that about? Like, you just went through this when you was talking about how they were Jehovah's Witness. They had the door slammed in their face. But then within their own tribe, they do the same thing.
Oppress people.
Okay.
Oppressing out there. Yeah.
So I'm radical with my speech. I'm gonna censor it, but
it's 50 years.
That's house nigga. That's house nigga behavior.
Mm-hmm.
It's house nigga behavior. It's the oppressed trying to oppress. Because at the end of the day, guess what, homeboy? You gonna have to accept your position on that scale of hierarchy. I don't give a damn how you feel about it. You're still black. You're still a man. You're still a black trans woman. You're still all of these things. No matter if it's 2023, that don't take away from the nuanced experiences, my love. So it's that reason why that's the case. Now, do I agree with it? No. Do I think it's effed up? Absolutely. But I think that is the answer as to why. It's because the oppressed, the truly, what's the word I want to use? When it's purely indebted, oppression is purely indebted in a person's mind, they become an instrument for the oppressor.
An advocate for it, yeah.
And if they come for one group, they're going to come for another. It's
They
always
are.
give them an inch, they're going to take 5 miles. And I got to say, like, I mean, cis women and trans women, there is an intersection at which we all experience transphobia, right?
Correct.
Like women like Sierra, Serena Williams, Meg Thee Stallion.
Correct.
I've even seen video clips in like of just regular women where they try to go to the bathroom and someone is like demanding to know, are you a biological woman or not? And that happens a lot to women, particularly black women, particularly dark-skinned black women. It happens a lot. So we have a lot more in common than I think people want to acknowledge.
But I don't think that that's because of transphobia though. Okay, like I'm the real one of the girls. Okay, I get a lot of flack from my trans peers because I'm not with the okie doke, and I believe in ABC 1, 2, 3, black and white. That it's binary for me.
Give us some examples of that, because I always talk to a lot of people about certain groups in the LGBTQIA community who kind of discriminate against their own, their very
and
own.
Absolutely.
I said that too. I saw in the
That's where I
comment
was
section
going.
of that.
Yeah.
I saw people
I want
that
to hear
I
some
know are
detail. Yeah.
Well, let's tell people what
LGBTQ.
we're getting to. We talking about that clip that resurfaced of the individual that was stating about what is womanhood,
Like, who
right? Or
owns-
women don't own periods.
Right.
And Jess Hilarious
Look,
had agreed with
First
it.
of all, she had to reposition herself with this one.
Had agreed with it. And what Bae has showed us was you can go into that, but you have revealed some more things that people did not know
people did not
throughout
know.
that conversation.
Yeah.
So
Get
So,
into it.
I want to start. I'm gonna go 1, 2, 3. That's not a trans thing.
Okay.
Y'all been getting called men way
That is very
before
true.
That's real.
the last 15
Racism,
years.
like
Y'all have been called masculine presenting way before trans women got visibility.
Okay.
Okay. And
That's real.
for
That's very true.
me, it is a responsibility of female biologically born women, especially those who've been here between at least 1968, well, who were born between like 1968 and let's say 1970. You have a responsibility to speak to.
I'm
when
an 80s baby.
you have a responsibility to speak to when Ruth Bader Ginsburg was the one who had the swing vote on the Supreme Court deciding if females were allowed to be in military academy in 1996. Okay. And that's just one very small legislative example about how we had, and when I say we, I'm talking about black folk. We had an experience where a female in large, specifically the black femme figures, have been denounced. The denouncing of your demographic, my love, has nothing to do with black trans women. And what's unfortunate about it is I really wish that you guys would attack the system rather than looking for another demographic to attack
I agree.
that you, not you specifically, but that females think are impressionable or weak enough to be under siege.
it's a Spider-Man meme.
That's the only reason.
Because there's overlap, racism, capitalism, transphobia, homophobia. Like there's overlap.
They intersect, but I think it's important to speak about the reasoning is my point. You know, you guys are not being likened to masculinity because of the existence or the visibility of transness.
That makes sense.
Those have no things to do with each other, okay? Because I know Miss Odessa in Mississippi who got a mustache and got some good coochie right now, okay? And she's married to Mr. William and been with him for the last 30 years, and they got six daughters, and this is hypothetical. And Mr. William and Miss Odessa got six girls, and all 6 of them got that same mustache. And guess what? All 6 of them is married. Guess what? All 6 of them got little girls. Are celebrated, are great mothers. So there are a lot of these different things that have been likened to masculinity. Right. You know, a little whisker, you know, a bigger back. It's a lot of different things that have existed over time about gender identity, expression for females being policed. And that nuance is not new. It's just, in my opinion, females looking for somebody to blame, which is a female thing. That's a different conversation. I want to go to yours.
Let's do it.
Unfortunately, and I know you two, or maybe it was you, said that you saw the Flame and Roll conversation that I had.
I take that.
And what's so interesting is
you got it.
Most people are shocked to believe that we largely feel, trans women largely feel the most unsafe with our own people.
Yikes.
I believe it.
Okay. And I think it's because of the exact same reason why we face the challenges we face with females. Because when we're talking about things being systemic, okay, and crab in a barrel mindset, unfortunately, finally, the gay has got somebody they can step on. Unfortunately, finally, the bisexual folks got somebody that they can step on. And as I said a little bit earlier, the same way that the house nigga looks for the white gaze, Gaze for the people, is the same way that a lot of queer folk seek out the cisgender heteronormative gaze. Okay? Oh, yeah, I'm a gay, but, you know, at least I don't think I'm a girl. At least I know I'm a man. Or I'm a gay, but, you know, I calm that stuff down when I go around my parents out of respect for them. You're a pick-me, love. So that's what it's about. It's about social hierarchy. Not
even that, I know that's just an example, but, like, is that respect or fear?
Is what respect or fear?
When you're just like, I calm myself down to be around people out of respect for that
Neither.
person.
It's foolishness. It's foolishness. Love my parents to death. Love them to death. But I honor my mother and my father by not letting nobody play with me. Okay? And for me, there's no honor in me discrediting my experience for you. I don't give a damn if you're my mother or not. Okay? It was dishonorable when you was laid up with that man that you wasn't married to. It was dishonorable when you let him disrespect your child. It was dishonorable when you know all of the different nuances that we experience as Black children who are led by a single mother, unfortunately. So it's for that reason. What was your question?
I don't know, but I'm getting incredibly homesick right now by your energy. I was about to be like that meme, that Black child shed that tear. Because I don't think anybody here understands, because when you leave back home and you go home, and not to blend myself into your personal experience, but there is a thing when you leave home, you go back about presenting your full self in which you evolved into.
That's right.
And they're not as accepting. I know if they have not been accepting to me as a heterosexual male, cisgender male, I can't even imagine what you had to go to through each visit, because my visits became shorter.
Well, you want to know something? I actually did not visit Detroit for 15 years after I left.
I believe it.
Wow.
You know, like, I didn't see my mother for 10. I did not lay eyes on my mother from age 15 until 25.
Wow.
Because I was dedicated to make it. I was dedicated, you know, to make it, and to make it without having to do a lot of the things that my peers have had to do because of survival. I was willing to be a little hungry. Sometimes I was willing to be a little cold sometimes. Yeah. You know, hell, it was a diploma on the other side of that thing. You know, it was home ownership on the other side of that thing. It was a passport. It was notoriety, visibility, currency, equity, so many different things that really kept me from that experience and the experience of going back. And the only reason that I did go back when I did was for to mourn the death of my great grandmother. But I was even then only there for a day. I love Detroit to death, love what it's done for me, but I personally have no purpose of going back. I'll always keep a 313 number. I'll always rep my city to the fullest. Would have never wanted to be anywhere but from Detroit. But I'm with you when you
Yeah,
right.
like I had responsibility, so I have my niece who's my number one in my life, right?
Okay.
And I don't think our story could be any different for somebody who's born and raised in Jersey, left out, whatever. We just having our moment in
That's
this
right.
in this way. However, when did your comfortability set in that you can was a defining moment? Did you wake up or did you look back on that
I
when
was
you
always
became
like
whole?
this.
Okay.
Oh, I was always like this. I gave my people hell. You know, at 32, looking back, you know, I appreciate my experience, but I gave them people hell. Like, I was hell bent on expressing myself the way I wanted to express myself. I was hell bent on not being policed. There was not one ass whooping that could dissuade me. There was not a group of friends. I was raised to march and stand on the beat of my own drum. But as I said a little bit earlier, it just ended up backfiring on the leaders in my family because they never gave me that fine print of, but not me, you
Right.
know? So it made everyone not exempt. So I came out the womb like that, like, excuse me, no.
Right.
You know, so a backhand was my best friend as a child. Because who you talking to?
I love it. Quickly, I want to ask you about the whole Just Hilarious
Okay.
conversation quickly before we go, because we definitely need to talk about that. One, there were facts that you gave, you know, while we talked about this off camera that I even had no idea about, which is like kind of fucking up for the community,
That's
you know?
right.
So quickly talk about the situation. What exactly happened? Who said what? And your thoughts on it.
So real brief, for whatever reason, I don't know how Jess may have even stumbled upon this video that was 2 years old.
Stumbled.
The video was 2 years old, first of all. Secondly, the person who created the video falls under the umbrella of the non-binary trans sector of it. And that's my next statement is not to invalidate that experience, but I do not think that there's enough conversations about the fact that you got to stay in your lane. The same way that we as Black trans women don't got no business talking about your menstruation cycle is the same way that you as someone who's not on hormones, someone who has not had any gender affirming surgery, someone who walks out into the world and your mama, your friends, your neighbor, and the man at the gas pump says he, him, and his to you, you have no business speaking and taking the stage for me or people like me. That's problem number one. But here's what's interesting about it. I don't even really fault that individual enough because that person did not have the platform until Jess decided to give that person the platform that she gave them. What's unfortunate about it is that Jess and I have had actual conversations in the public eye about these type of topics. And unfortunately, she's smart enough to have avoided this situation because common sense, if you were truly listening, if you have the level of education, which let's be real, 90% of folks don't understand context. So contextually, if we take what the individual on that video said, they said that females cannot gatekeep womanhood because you don't own it, that menstruation is not exclusive to you. So if we use our common sense right there, obviously we're not talking about trans women because trans women don't menstruate. So the only other person that leaves is trans men, who that person is not. So why is it that you, with your common sense, are then with your gun of words just targeting Black trans women for an issue that is not even relative to us? That's no different from what they did a few years ago with that tampon, with the tampons issue, when the trans man wrote them and asked for them to be more inclusive, removed the female symbol from the box and the color pink because he didn't identify as a woman. However, he was pre-op, so he still dealt with menstruation. Okay? Guess what? When that went public, guess who got the brunt of it? Black trans women. Okay,
Wow.
I don't understand
why did I get in it?
Right. Now, how did I get in there? That's meanie.
So with this, unfortunately, I think.
Also, want to remember say that he's not even a trans woman, right?
No.
That's
gist
the
of it.
huge thing. Like,
So
I had
again,
no idea
that's
about
what I mean when I say like I don't want to invalidate that person's experience. So if they are a non-binary trans individual, that is an experience. But I am willing to be radical as a Black trans woman who has the position at this current moment to say that's not something that we are comfortable with. Okay? It feels exactly the same hearing that type of stage being taken by somebody who doesn't live that experience as you may feel about trans women speaking about something about the female experience. You out of line, my brother. You out of line. That's not a stage for you to take. But even more so, Jess Hilarious has a responsibility to use her education and to use better line of discernment with her platform, because at the end of the day, that could have been an experience.
And she's in a position to know
exactly, especially knowing
people.
me,
Yeah.
knowing actual trans people.
That
That could have been a
don't.
great moment for her to shine a light on trans men, because we don't have the conversations about the autonomy of trans men's body. We don't have the conversation about the nuances that trans men go through. And they're very much so like Black men, where when Black women, specifically trans women, are under siege, they say nothing. The same way the Black cis men, for the most part, say nothing when the Black female or the Black auntie or the Black grandmother is under siege. The parallels are exactly the same. So for me, love Jess Hilarious to death, but I don't think that really had anything to do with anything besides her own personal afflictions or issues with trans folk. And I also resent T.S. Madison for getting involved in it as well, because at the end of the day, your ass should not be having anything to say about anything, because we only hear from you when it's something negative or clout based. We don't hear about you, getting involved in nonprofit organizations to help girls who are newly transitioned re-enter into society under a new gender marker or name. We don't hear about you going to the prisons and trying to get these trans women who are housed with Black men into a different quarter where they're safer. We don't hear about you taking your talents down to Capitol Hill and brigading and marching with other people. We don't. You're only there for a camera op. You're only there for this, that, and the third. And then how dare you liken her experience, Just Hilarious's, her experience to only being what it is because she looks like a man. Are you serious? And what's unfortunate about it is that we are so caught up in exploiting each other, tearing each other down, being right in each situation, that we don't realize that we're just digging ourselves deeper into the grave. So it's really become extremely unfortunate, because the nuances of these experiences are largely policed and robbed, and people who are outsiders, which you guys can empathize with as Black folks, then take on the identities and make us look crazy, like Rachel Dolezal.
Rachel Dolezal.
Excuse me, her name is Nkechi now.
I just got one more before we go. Just one. I just want to ask you, what would you like your voice to be heard as you start to have these more speaking engagements and moving forward? What would you like your voice to be known for?
Honestly, that's a really good question. Thank you, first of all, because this is going to be an impactful response. My experience is very unique because, when I left home, I transitioned, but I only did it for about a year before I decided to hang it up, because I wanted to survive more than be a girl. Okay? I had to have that conversation that you have with young girls at 15 when you say, baby, that hair gonna be there. Baby, them dudes gonna be there. Baby, them parties gonna be there. Go to school. So for me, I want to be known at this point as I, work towards, publishing some things that I've penned, as I work towards potentially being a part of podcasts or radio shows or into activism, I want to be known for my fullness as a person of color, because I have an experience that's really exclusive to me, because you are going to have a hard time finding a Black trans woman who will say, I was that nigga before I transitioned. I was. I was not dead or in jail before 18. I was not dead or in jail before 21. I was not dead or in jail before 25. I was a homeowner before 25. I was a six-figure earner before 25. And that, for our culture, is something that should be celebrated. Regardless to the fact that I may have had dysphoria or dysmorphia or any of those things, that has nothing to do with the investment that I made into our culture, and then to go on as a Black trans woman and not use my platform or privileges for body exploitation or to be a bad bitch, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. For me, I want for people to understand what it's like for a Black person to make it by their own design. And I'm not talking about wealth, financial wealth. I'm not talking about notoriety or any of those things. I'm talking about you being able to succeed at the beat of your own drum comfortably. So that's what I want to be known for. The fact that I did it my way, that I was unwavering and radical in it, and that I always showed up punctually and ready to go and not needing any direction or directives about my decorum, because I'm rooted in the idea of Black supremacy.
Okay. Period.
Wow. We got to wrap this up. I mean, we could go on.
Shoot.
This is a complex conversation, but I think one of the takeaways is the more you have conversations with people, the more you see their humanity. And I just think we need to talk. Don't stop with the insults and yelling at each other and trying to get all.
I would love to add something to that. This is like one of my most famous personal quotes. You spoke of humanity, and I always say, humanity can and does exist, even in the absence of empathy, understanding, morality, and principle. It does not have to make sense to you. I can live my life how I want to as your neighbor, and you can't stop shit.
Okay.
Okay? If I can afford to move into this house next door to you, it doesn't matter what you feel about how I blast my music. It doesn't matter how my kids live. It doesn't matter what my principles are, because you ain't stopping shit. And I think that if we as Black folks get to that place, like the Black Panthers, like Malcolm X, where we stop trying to be coddled by the white gaze or by the class gaze, then we can get to a place where we march to the beat of our own drum in spite of humanity, because humanity says that everybody got to seat this table. Killers, dope dealers, pastors, first ladies, autistic, trans, gay, rich, poor. Humanity exists even in the absence of empathy and understanding and morality.
Amen. So we'll end on that
Somebody
note.
find a
Mic
mic to
drop.
drop.
I literally said it. I said
City
mic
Limits
drop.
Podcast.
Let me see if I can find it.
Thank y'all for having me, by the way.
Thank you.
I
Yeah, thanks
appreciate
for
it.
coming.
Nah, we appreciate it.
Thanks for watching. If you want to see more, make sure you subscribe right here.